best performers in this country as far as a full-time sort of indie guy goes. And of course, I think there was another 3 as well. But obviously, Matt, for WWE to go and sign them shows you their intent, Matt, that they are still trying to get the best of the UK here and make this tournament as deep and as quality filled as possible. What did you make of those signings, man? Mainly Dave Mastiff, because obviously he was such a big feature on the World of Sports show up there with Grado. Is that a little bit of a sort of like a kind of like we've got the clout here if we can kind of have whoever we want at any time, or do you think that was just WWE just looking at who's available and the best talent?
Yeah, I think they've got to shop around a bit. I mean, there's no mistakes that they've had their eye on the UK market for a while now. I mean, they had the UK tournament already in the past, and with the Cruiserweight Classic, they were looking all over the world. So and now their connection to Progress Wrestling, I think they've definitely taken a serious interest. So there's not going to be any mistakes that they've hand-picked some quality talent to enter this tournament, and we are seeing it with the names that are coming out. So I am pretty pleased about that, and that they're getting their shot to perform on a big stage now. And these wrestlers are people that are well recognised. I mean, a lot of these people come into this were picked up on TNA's radar back when TNA was kind of good. So that's something to say about that as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's nice. El Ligero, man, I've known him for such a long time, especially back in the FWA days, and for him to be here now, I mean, what a journey, and it's incredible that he's going to get that exposure. But the great thing is, Matt, I mean, especially from our American fans, they're all saying, man, I love that UK style. Those matches seem so much better. Like Tyler Bates' matches with Pete Dunne were off the chain. Any of the pay-per-view matches they had, where they had them on in between, like they were some of the best matches. The ones on at NXT and stuff like that. So there is something about the style there, Matt, and it's nice for a change. I don't want to sort of over-exaggerate because we live in the UK, but it's nice for a change to have a distinct style that is there, and people do appreciate, even from where this happens all the time, like a place like America. So really cool in that sense. I do want to say, because people have asked what about World of Sport and how we think that's going to go. The one thing I will say about that, from my point of view at the minute at least, is that because they are doing it in the thing is, I enjoyed the show when it was on, but here's the thing I don't like. When you get an audience that you have to sort of apply for to go on a TV show almost, I don't think you get the general wrestling fan. It's not the sort of crowd you want at a wrestling show. So I don't think a TV crowd is all that great, in my opinion. And we did say this back on the old podcast, Matt, that when they were doing those promos on the likes of Good Morning Britain, how bad all that was coming across, that they all turned up in their wrestling gimmicks and attires, and it was just so over the top, and almost it was like I wanted to curl up and pretend I wasn't a wrestling fan and make sure there wasn't people around me. But unfortunately I was at work at the time, and people were like, oh my god, John watches this, and I was like, oh no. And I just felt like they were a bit dated, and that's nothing against any of the performers. I want to make that clear. It is not anything to do with the performers or even the announcers or anything like that. Don't forget they got Jim Ross, which was a great catch at the time, the best of the best. But I think the presentation of it wasn't the best. They managed to get Harry Smith, which was a great catch as well. But I just didn't like the presentation. I felt it was a little bit dated. And I think that you don't really want to have a studio audience feel. You want to have a live crowd. So that's just where I stand with it. What about you, Matt? World of Sport, obviously, they're trying to get it out there, Matt. They're trying to get more pilots done. We know they're recording another 6 episodes for this, so they've obviously got a green lit from somewhere. And they're doing it at a time when WWE are back over here. So it makes me think there is something happening between these two in some way or another. ITV, Matt, what do you think? Do you think they've sort of got the right people at the top, and are they wrestling people enough to understand where they need to go to sort of compete with the likes of WWE, or is this going to become a sort of Saturday night sort of TV schedule thing where it's a bit like the Gladiators in a way?
Yeah, I mean it's a good news, I suppose. To get wrestling back on mainstream kind of TV there, accessible by so many people, even if it's just hitting a small audience of maybe if children are getting into it, at least that's something they can take, and then they can maybe get into other aspects of wrestling. I think anything that's out there hitting the TV and hitting such a wide variety of people is good. I mean, I know you hit upon the fact that it can be seen as kind of cheesy, but you know, for some people that is what wrestling is about, and some people enjoy that part of it. I know back in the day, like the larger than life characters were a massive hit. So even if it's just something out there for the older people, even who remember the original World of Sport wrestling days and they're enjoying it, that's also a good thing as well. But let's not lose back to sight of the fact that, you know, the talent is also getting an opportunity to showcase themselves to the world, and that's also a great thing for them.
Yeah, absolutely. No, well said there, Matt. Keeping us on a good line there. Now, obviously, as well as that coming up, I was just trying to look while you were saying that, Matt, if there was any more news on the United Kingdom. But as Matt said at the beginning there, that is day one is going to be the total tournament day, basically, of the United Kingdom, and then it's really cool because then we get to see the NXT titles all being defended on day two. So it's going to be really cool. A great experience, I think, here, Matt. I mean, you know, I know it's not a massive big deal, but I think it kind of is, the fact that WWE are actually performing at the Royal Albert Hall, Matt. I mean, they haven't been there for some time. I don't think since 92, I think I read somewhere. I might be wrong, but I don't think they have been back since then. So it's quite a prestigious sort of, you know, building arena, isn't it, in this country? And I think to have that, I mean, it does really, I think it's a bit of a, as Booker T would say, it's a statement. Oh yeah, let's hope he's not there commentating, by the way. My God. Who do you suspect will be the announced team that night? Because last time we had Michael Cole come in, and he was like a breath of fresh air because he didn't have anybody in his ear. It was like he was actually enjoying what he was seeing in front of him.
And seeing him paired with Michael Cole will be like, it'll be interesting as well. But, you know, if they do go with a third option, you know, Simon definitely stands out, of course, because of his passion and enthusiasm. I'm sure he'd bring a lot of energy to the table there. But, you know, if they're going to go with something completely different and they wanted to sort of shock things a little bit, how about Steve Corino? You know, get that guy involved, do something with him.
Yeah, no, well said there. He's somebody that isn't being utilised in that area at the minute, isn't he? We know he trains down at the developmental centre, but he's not been... he's certainly not been used just yet, has he, for all that. So yeah, that would be cool to see him there as well. Just looking at the last time WWE were there, actually 1991, Matt, I believe was the last time here, which was the Battle Royal at the Royal Albert Hall. Sure you remember that one fondly, Matt.
Yep.
Definitely a lot of people there on hand. So yeah, it's going to be cool to go back there. And of course, myself and Matt, we are there. We're also going to be... I think we're going to probably say that we'll probably give like a half-hour summary of the first night from day one, and then day two we'll kind of like sum it up in, you know, as much time as it needs. But yeah, we will be coming back. We'll go live at some point. But it's going to be an enjoyable couple of nights for us. We're actually going to stay down there as well, so going to really take in the atmosphere. I'm interested because as well as that, I'm pretty sure, Matt, that it's going to be like an NXT type vibe of kind of like that sort of adult fan base. I'm not expecting to see too many kids around, although it's not a bad thing if there is, because you kind of need to generate that in the long term anyway, if they're going to run these things more regular. But I'm getting the feeling that the vibe that is coming here, because it's NXT on the second night, will be that NXT fan base, Matt.
Yeah, of course, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I always get a good vibe from the more adult-orientated audience, and I'm sure we'll be getting some pretty unique chants going for some of these people. I mean, that's the good thing as well. When you get a more heavily adult-orientated audience, they know the background of the wrestlers coming into this, so they're pumped and ready for it.
No, absolutely. Looking forward to that, along with everything else. It seems like we've got a really busy year, actually, to be honest with you, but a busy couple of months coming up, especially with all the stuff coming up with Ring of Honor, the UK stuff, and then we get a little bit of a break, thank goodness, and then obviously we've got Progress as well coming up, but I don't know too much about that just yet, but we'll be getting there. Just going to take a couple of questions here, Matt, and then we will ride off into the sunset, as they say. So quick question here now then from Gary. Hello there, I am emailing for the first time, would like your opinions on the whole circumstances between Bayley and Sasha Banks. I feel that WWE have not pushed the trigger early enough for this to come across as a success now when it happens. Are WWE just waiting for SummerSlam to get this match on because of the history? Do you think this will work? So a good point there, and I do kind of agree with what Gary's saying there, because I do think they kind of, it's good to plant seeds, but goodness me, we thought this was all sort of, WrestleMania happened, and then we thought maybe they'll come on from there. Is it a case, Matt, of WWE just waiting for Brooklyn, and they're going to just play that video about 5,000 times to say, and that won't be a good thing, will it, Matt? Because then everyone's going to expect the same match, aren't they? Which is always a lot of pressure, isn't it? I mean, how could you top that? I kind of think that is terrible booking, really, when I think about it now. That they would go to something like that. I mean, I understand there is history there, but I don't think, Matt, just for the sake of leaving it for that moment, for the fact that it's SummerSlam and it's Brooklyn, should be the total reason that we have to sort of wait that long for this to all come to a head. What do you think to that, Matt? And is there any chances we might get it sooner?
I'm almost at the point now where I don't even want to see it. I'm done with that. I mean,
get rid of
for
it.
one thing, we have seen it before anyway, so it's kind of retreading the same old ground, which is another topic we talked about with NXT, where we don't like to see the same thing happen.
Let me say this, Matt. Sorry to interrupt you, but let me just ask you quickly: do you actually believe it could be as good or better than before, realistically?
I don't think it can be as good as it was before. But I feel like, what came together on that night was very unique, and it's so incredibly hard to pull off something better than when you've done something like that and the chemistry's all come together on the night. You can't really recreate that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And like you say, Matt, you're not even bothered to see it now. I think I'm kind of in that boat as well. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I'm like, this is so... It's just gone on way too long. They're doing nothing in between, really. They're treading the same stuff every week. I'm getting a bit bored of it. And some of the better stuff happens outside of the WWE TV, like some of the tweets they send each other. But they don't even say it on the TV. And I'm thinking, it's more realistic. It's better than what you're actually putting out on Raw TV. I know they're both trying to do something between themselves, and I credit them for doing that outside of the box, because probably WWE haven't told them to do that. But I just think, I wonder if it would have been better if they would have been split up and on different brands, really. And then we could have gone back to this maybe when it would have been fresh again. But yeah, it is what it is. So I'm not really looking forward to it, and I just don't think, with all the hype that is going to go into that one this time, I just don't see it being as good. Not a chance. But I think really what they should have done, Matt, if I'm being totally honest, they should have had the match at WrestleMania. That should have been the first match for a non-title women's match. That could have made history, and that could have been in there. And if they'd have made a big deal about it, they could have done that. But instead they chose to use the whole Battle Royal for it, which was kind of pointless in a sense. I just wish they'd have they'd have had the one-on-one